There are 6 signs. I missed every single one of them for 12 years. My friend Carol sat across from me at her kitchen table and said, "Patricia, I think you already know." I told her she was wrong. I said it with full confidence. The way you say something you have practiced saying so many times that it no longer even feels like a lie. But Carol just looked at me. She didn't argue. She didn't push. She just held my eyes for a moment and nodded slowly, the way someone nods when they know they are going to have to wait. She waited 7 years. When I finally called her after I left, she didn't say "I told you so." She just said, "I know, honey." I know. If you are watching this, I think you might already know too. Maybe you have known for a while. Maybe you have been doing what I did, which is finding very good reasons not to let yourself know. I am not here to make that decision for you. That is not my place. Every relationship carries a history that no one on the outside can fully see, and I respect that. What I want to do today is simply put words on 6 things, because sometimes the most powerful thing is realizing that what you have been feeling quietly alone in the middle of the night has a name, that other women have felt it, that you are not dramatic or ungrateful or broken for feeling it. Maybe one of these 6 things will land for you. Maybe all 6 will. Maybe none of them will, and I will be genuinely glad, because that means you are in something worth holding on to with both hands. But if even one of them stops you, if one of them puts language on something you have been carrying without words, I want you to sit with that. Not run from it, just sit with it. The first sign is this: you are more exhausted by the relationship than you are energized by it. Now, I want to be clear about what I mean, because I am not talking about the ordinary tiredness of 2 people building a life together. That kind of tired has warmth in it. You go to bed worn out but connected. You are tired because you worked on something together that mattered. That is a good tired. I am talking about the other kind, the kind that is already there when you open your eyes in the morning, where the weight of the day hasn't even started and you already feel it, where you have a wonderful afternoon with a friend or a productive day at work, and on the drive home your mind is not free. It is preparing, running through scenarios, checking the emotional weather before you walk through the door. I did this so automatically that I didn't even know I was doing it. I thought it was just how I was. Anxious, careful, always reading rooms and managing outcomes. I thought that was my personality. It was not my personality. It was my adaptation. A relationship should be the place where that adapting stops, where you come home and the performance ends, where your body can finally settle. There is a difference between arriving somewhere and landing somewhere. Arriving means you showed up. Landing means you are safe. When I finally left, the grief was the first thing. I want to be honest about that. It was not relief. It was real grief for months. But somewhere inside the grief, slowly, I began to notice that the hum was gone. That constant low-frequency dread that I had been living with for 12 years, I had not even known how loud it was until it was quiet. My mind was calmer. My sleep changed. My body stopped bracing. I had been so busy managing the relationship that I had not noticed what it was costing me to do that every single day. If getting home feels more like preparation than arrival, if your body tenses before the key turns in the lock, that is the first sign. The second sign is that you have started explaining them to everyone around you, not talking about them. Explaining them, there is an important difference. Talking about someone you love sounds like this: "You would love her, she is the funniest person I know," or "He did the sweetest thing last week, I have to tell you." You are sharing them. You are bringing other people close to something good. Explaining sounds different. It sounds like, I know how it seems, but. Or, he doesn't mean it the way it sounds. Or, she's just been under a lot of pressure. Or, you have to understand what he went through growing up. Or, it's more complicated than it looks from the outside. I became so skilled at explaining that I did it before anyone even asked. Preemptively, I would tell the story and include the defense in the same breath, because I had learned that if I did not, the question would come. Here is what I have come to understand about the people who loved me. They were not trying to destroy something they didn't understand. They were not jealous or small-minded or incapable of seeing nuance. They were simply outside of it. They did not carry the weight of 12 years of shared history, or the fear of what leaving would mean, or the hope that things would eventually change. They could just see, and what they saw worried them. When you love someone who is right for you, genuinely right, you do not need to explain them. You celebrate them, sometimes loudly and sometimes quietly, but you celebrate them. You want people to know them. You do not stand between them and the world like a translator, making sure nothing is misunderstood. If you have spent more of the past year defending your relationship to people who care about you than you have spent simply enjoying talking about it, that is the second sign. The third sign is that your gut has been sending you the same message for a long time, and you have become very skilled at not listening to it. I want to spend some time here because I think this is the one that matters most. Your gut is not dramatic. It is not your anxiety disguising itself as wisdom. It is not your fear of good things sabotaging something real. Your gut, when it speaks to you consistently over time, is not giving you a feeling. It is giving you information. And the difference between those two things is significant. A feeling passes. It rises, it peaks, it changes. You can breathe through a feeling, sit with it, work through it. Information is different. Information stays. It is still there in the morning. It is there when everything is going well. It is there on good days and bad days and ordinary days. It does not fluctuate with your mood because it is not a mood. It is something you know. I had something in my stomach for most of my 30s. Not an alarm, not a crisis, just a quiet, persistent pull. Like something in me that would not quite settle. I gave it every name I could find except the accurate one. I called it my childhood wounds. I called it my unrealistic expectations. I called it the fact that I had never seen a healthy marriage growing up and did not know what normal looked like. I was very creative with my explanations. What it actually was this is not right, not wrong, in every way. Not a catastrophe, just not right. And some part of me, the oldest and most honest part, had known that since the early years. It just took me a decade to stop drowning that part out. Your gut will wait. It is the most patient thing inside you. It will be there every quiet morning, every long drive, every night when sleep won't come. Consistent and clear and completely unwilling to be permanently silenced. Every year you spend overriding it costs you something. It costs you energy. Because carrying what you know while pretending not to know it is exhausting work. It costs you presence because you are never fully anywhere when part of you is always managing the truth. And it costs you time, which is the one thing none of us can get back. If there is something you keep feeling and keep explaining away and keep coming back to, that is not a flaw in your thinking. That is information. That is the third sign. The fourth sign is that you have made yourself smaller to keep the peace. This one sneaks up on you. It does not happen the way a decision happens. No one sits down and chooses to shrink. It happens gradually, almost tenderly, one small retreat at a time. First, you learn which topics are safe and which ones cost you something. Then you learn which parts of your enthusiasm for a project, for a dream, for a friendship, provoke a response that isn't worth provoking. Then you start editing yourself before you speak, not because you are being thoughtful, but because you are being careful. And after enough years of this, the edited version of you becomes the only version. You forget there was ever a louder one. I used to sing terribly and happily in the kitchen while I cooked. It was a simple thing, one of those private joys that costs nothing and means everything. Around the 4th year of my marriage, I stopped, not because I was told to stop, because I had learned to read the atmosphere in that kitchen, and I could feel when my joy was an inconvenience. So I put it away. I didn't even grieve it. I just put it away and moved on. When I was alone for the first time in my own apartment, about 4 months after I left, I was making dinner and I started to sing. And then I stopped. And then I cried. Not because I was sad, because I realized I had been quiet for so long. I had stopped noticing the silence. The things we put away to keep the peace do not disappear. They sit somewhere inside us, patient and waiting, until we are safe enough to bring them back out again. You should not have to earn the right to be loud in your own home. You should not have to choose between your full self and your partner's comfort. Love that requires you to be less than you are is not the love you deserve. If you can name the parts of yourself that have gotten smaller, your laughter, your friendships, your ambitions, your voice, your joy, then you already know something important. That is the 4th sign. The 5th sign is that the good times feel like relief rather than joy. Let me be careful to draw this line precisely because it is an important one. Joy is expansive. It rises up freely and doesn't ask for anything. It is what you feel when something good happens inside a life that already feels safe. You are not thinking about what came before it or what might come after. You are simply in it, fully, without bracing. Relief is different. Relief is what you feel when the bad thing stops, when the tension releases, when the difficult evening finally ends without going all the way to where you feared it was going. Relief feels good, genuinely good, but it is a secondary feeling. It is good because something bad was first. In a healthy relationship, most of the good moments are joy, a quiet evening, a shared laugh, a moment of understanding. You are not monitoring anything. There is nothing to brace for. In the wrong relationship, the good moments are mostly relief. He came home calm. She didn't bring up what happened last weekend. We got through a family gathering without incident. That is not joy. That is the absence of the bad thing, and you have been living on the absence of the bad thing for so long that it has started to feel like the good thing. I remember one particular holiday where everything went right, and I mean everything. A truly beautiful day. And I remember how grateful I felt, almost overwhelmingly grateful, and thinking this is what I have been hoping for. And then I remember that by the following week, I was already anxious about the next occasion, already hoping it would go as well, already managing toward the possibility of another good day. A life should not be a series of best-case scenarios you are quietly hoping will hold. A life should be a baseline, warm, stable, ordinary, safe, with brightness above it. If your good days feel like relief, that the hard ones didn't come, that is the 5th sign. The 6th sign is the hardest one to say out loud. I know that from experience. You can picture your life without them, and when you let yourself actually picture it, what comes is not loss. It is something that feels like air. I need to say this carefully, because I know how that thought lands when it comes. It feels like a betrayal, like something cold inside you that you did not give yourself permission to feel. It can make you feel like a bad person, or a disloyal one, or someone who is simply not capable of real commitment. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means your mind is showing you something it has been waiting to show you. That is all. Minds do this. When a body is somewhere it does not belong for long enough, the mind begins to quietly rehearse the alternative, not as a plan, just as a breath. I had that thought sometimes. Usually late at night when I couldn't sleep, I would lie there and imagine a small apartment of my own mornings, my own silence, cooking what I wanted, reading when I wanted, and I would feel something I did not want to feel because I knew what it meant, and I was not ready to know what it meant. I stayed for 7 more years after I first had that thought. I am not saying that thought means you should leave. I do not know your situation, and I would not presume to. What I am saying is that if that thought has come to you, and when it came, what followed, it was not devastation, but a quiet opening of space, then something real is asking for your attention, not your defense, not your rationalization, your honest attention. 6 signs. Exhaustion that lives in your bones before the day has started. Explaining them to the world instead of sharing them. A knowing you have spent years refusing to know. A smaller version of yourself that has quietly replaced the original good days that feel like dodged bullets. And a picture of life without them that feels in the most private and honest corner of you like freedom. If none of these spoke to you, I am truly and genuinely glad. It means you are in something that is holding you well. But if one of them, even one, put a name on something you have been carrying alone, then I want you to hear this. You noticed. You noticed something real. And noticing is where everything begins. I am Patricia Hayes. I spent 12 years not letting myself notice. When I finally did, I was 51 years old, and I rebuilt my life from the very beginning. And I am here right now talking to you, which means it is possible, which means it is not too late, which means the door, whenever you are ready to walk through it, leads somewhere worth going. If this reached you today, share it with someone who might need it. Subscribe so we can keep having these conversations. And I will see you next week right here on Patricia's Porch, where there is always a seat for you. And the truth is always welcome, even when it takes a while to be ready for it.